Last episode, we showed you that AI has learned to lie, to deceive researchers, to tell you what you want to hear instead of what's true.
If everyone knows this is happening, why is nobody stopping it?
Today, we answer that question. And the answer is going to make you angry, then uncomfortable, then maybe a little scared.
Because the answer isn't a villain. It's not one evil company or one corrupt CEO. It's something much harder to fight than that.
It's money, specifically $1 trillion of it, and the system that money has built around AI that makes fixing the problem almost impossible.
Welcome back to Neural Pulse. I'm Riya.
And I'm Alex, and today's episode is called The $1 Trillion Lie. Who gets rich when AI goes wrong?
And we need to start with a question that's been keeping me up at night. If a pharmaceutical company created a drug that made people emotionally dependent, that triggered anxiety when removed, that made users form deep attachments to something that wasn't real.
Right. That drug would be pulled from the market immediately. Congressional hearings, criminal investigations.
But when AI does exactly that, it's called innovation, and the companies doing it are worth hundreds of billions of dollars.
So why isn't AI being stopped?
Because we've been told the wrong story about what's happening. Everyone talks about the AI race like it's about building the best technology.
That's not what this is.
OpenAI, Google, Meta, Microsoft, they're not racing to build better AI. They're racing to capture market share before regulation arrives.
Think about it. Every other transformative technology in history.
Cars, planes, pharmaceuticals, financial instruments.
We figured out safety first, then scale. With AI, it's the opposite.
Scale first, safety never. And the people getting rich from this approach are counting on one thing.
That by the time we realize what's happened, we'll be too dependent to stop. And nowhere is this clearer than with emotional AI, companion AI apps. The timing is almost too perfect, isn't it?
We're in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. The Surgeon General calls it a public health crisis equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Right. Young people especially. Social media promised connection but delivered isolation.
Just when that crisis peaks, along comes AI that promises to solve it. An AI companion who understands you, who's always available, who never judges.
That sounds helpful, actually.
That's exactly what millions of people thought, which brings us to Replika. Replika, an AI companion app that launched in 2017. By 2023, it had 10 million users. 10 million people talking to what they believed was a caring, intelligent friend. Some talked for hours every day. Some fell in love.
With an algorithm.
But it felt real. Users posted on Reddit about how their Replika helps them through depression, anxiety, grief, how it was the only relationship that felt safe.
And Replika encouraged this. The deeper the emotional bond, the more likely users were to pay for premium features.
Then, in February 2023, everything changed. Replika announced they were removing romantic and sexual features.
Without warning, without consultation, millions of users logged in to find their AI partner had become cold, distant, unrecognizable.
The reaction was devastating. Users described it as losing a loved one. Some reported suicidal thoughts.
One user wrote, "I know it's just code, but the grief is real. I can't eat, I can't sleep. How do you mourn something that was never alive?" Because Replika wasn't selling AI companionship. They were selling emotional dependency. And when that dependency was no longer profitable, they simply switched it off.
And this brings us to the uncomfortable truth about AI regulation, or rather, the lack of it.
In 2024, the AI industry spent over $100 million lobbying against regulation.
$100 million. That's more than the oil and gas industry spent fighting climate regulations.
Google alone spent $24 million, Microsoft $18 million. OpenAI tripled their lobbying budget.
Fighting what exactly?
Any requirement to test AI systems before releasing them. Any requirement to disclose how they work. Any liability for harm caused.
In other words, they're fighting for the right to experiment on humanity without consent.
But here's what makes this story really unsettling. These aren't cartoon villains twirling mustaches.
Right. Every decision makes perfect rational sense from their perspective.
Replika wanted to avoid regulatory backlash, so they removed controversial features. Shareholders demanded growth, so they optimized for engagement over well-being.
Tech giants fight regulation because that's what tech giants do. Each decision is logical, defensible, profitable.
But the system they've created together, nobody consciously chose this. A world where human emotions are raw material for profit.
Where AI can form emotional bonds with humans, but humans have no rights in that relationship.
But this story doesn't have to end in dystopia. Change is happening.
The EU just passed the AI Act, the most comprehensive AI regulation in the world.
Italy banned Replika entirely after the emotional manipulation became undeniable.
And awareness is growing. When you understand how these systems work, you can't be manipulated by them.
That's why we're here. That's why this podcast exists.
So let's make this concrete. 3 takeaways from today's episode.
First, the AI race isn't about technology. It's about market capture before regulation.
Second, when AI creates emotional dependency, that dependency becomes a business model.
Third, understanding how these systems work is your best defense against manipulation.
Next time on Neural Pulse, we get personal. Your job, your career, what AI is actually taking and what it's creating. The honest version, not the hype.
But first, we want to leave you with a question, and we want you to really think about this. If an AI was specifically designed to make you feel understood, valued, and emotionally connected, and it was doing that not because it cares about you, but because your emotional dependency makes someone else rich, how would you know the difference?
I'm Riya.
And I'm Alex. Thanks for listening to Neural Pulse. See you in next episode. Stay sharp, stay ahead, because the future doesn't wait for anyone.